What is geoengineering? Geoengineering means climate engineering and climate mitigation. It means to play God with the weather. The primary methods of engineering the climate is to fill the atmosphere with light scattering particulates that are sprayed from the back of jet aircraft. We know many of these particulates are heavy metals. We know that from testing from around the globe and patents as well. Primary method of solar radiation management. The stated purpose to block some of the sun's incoming thermal radiation to try to slow down the greenhouse effect that's happening on our planet from the buildup of greenhouse gases. So we have aircraft dispersing light scattering particles all over the globe. It's creating a condition that's termed global dimming. That fully 25 to 30% of the sun's direct rays that reached the planet 5 decades ago no longer do. Think about that, 25 to 30%. These particulates, when they settle down to the sea surface, are then utilized for ocean fertilization, which means to create artificially an algae or plankton bloom. To try to force the ocean to absorb yet more CO2 to take it out of the atmosphere, which causes cataclysmic effects in the ocean. But those behind these programs seem to care not for the consequences of what they do. So we have climate engineering to try to block some of the sun's incoming thermal radiation. We have those same materials then settling down to the sea surface, becoming ocean fertilization materials. And all these are causing a catastrophe of downstream consequences that are truly beginning to manifest on our planet. Does the government have a right to conduct these programs over populations? If we move back to a UN treaty in 1976 that was passed forbidding weather manipulation during wartime, in that treaty, a country's own right to experiment on their own populations was not forbidden. So we have loopholes in the system, especially in regard to national security, where countries are not forbidden to conduct such programs over their own populations. The U.S. military leaders have stated on the record, the greatest and most immediate threat to U.S. national security is the disintegrating climate. Do we really believe that these people in the military-industrial complex are going to ask our permission to intervene with the climate? In the course of our legal proceedings on the climate engineering issue, do our attorneys expect the national security card to be played as this issue begins to come to light? Yes, they do. But is that not an admission that these programs are going on? It is. This is a primary question that so many people use to fortify their denial and walk away from this issue. How many things have they done to themselves already that we already know about? How about detonating over 2,000 nuclear weapons around the globe? The initiation of which they did not know the consequences of, but they did it anyway. Every life form on the planet is contaminated with the fallout from those 2,000 nuclear bomb detonations. Don't they know they work after several dozen? But they kept doing it. Let's look at Fukushima. We have now 3 reactors in full meltdown. No end in sight to that situation, no known technology to fix it, and yet We're building 60 more nuke plants right now. In the case of climate engineering, again, it's a very complex issue. It's not a deliberate attempt necessarily at ecocide, genocide, or omnicide, but it does add up to that. The planet has been irreparably damaged now, and those in power simply look at this as a risk-to-risk scenario, the risk of doing it versus the risk of not doing it. We're already geoengineering the planet. Human activity is a form of geoengineering, period. When you alter the natural life form or life-sustaining systems of the planet, you're geoengineering the planet. So from their perspective, they feel compelled to try to engineer the planet, to compensate for the damage already done. There's many people making profit at this, disaster capitalists, too many people invested to turn back. So in order to keep business as usual, they have chosen for us, without our knowledge or consent, to engineer the planet, going back 70 years, doing immensely more damage than what was already done. How many examples do we need of the suicidal behavior of those in power? And we have a population that simply wants to look the other way, wants to go about their personal pursuit of pleasure, and doesn't want to do their part.